Yeah.
So it's been a wild exploration, and what I've discovered in my submissive self, in my exploration of my submissive self, in discovering that I have a submissive self,
Mm.
is that it's a way for me to enjoy my body, to access exactly what you were talking about at the beginning, like to allow myself the pleasure of the
Mm.
moment. Because before I had a person where I am 100% certain that when I'm with my master, I don't have to worry that he is not pleased in any moment. Because if he wants something different, he will tell me.
Mm.
And I have a lot of anxiety around like, am I doing it right? Do they want this? Are they, because a lot of times people like I'm a little weird. I check in about it. People are like, no, you're fine. And that's my like childhood, my past. Like that's stuff that is like really hard for me to kind of like
Yeah.
figure out what people want. And so it just feels so deeply refreshing, and I've just discovered so much about myself, and it's been an incredible reconnection.
Mm.
So I was a bit of a late bloomer in many ways, but like not for lack of wanting, not for lack of trying.
Mm.
I got rejected trying to lose my virginity 3 times twice when I was 18 and once when I was 19, and so it wasn't until I was 19 and a half that I finally did it. I can remember being a very young child and just being, like, excited to be 20 so that I could get married and have sex, and, like,
Mm.
I didn't know what any of those things really meant, but I've always been excited, curious, and confused when it comes to
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But no, I was pretty sheltered. We never had cable, and so I never saw anything particularly dirty. I think if I'd seen more like indie films and dirty things, I would have been a lot more. I don't think I would have this like childlike enthusiasm. I think some part of me would have been like, oh, I want to be like the angsty, sexy woman, and I would have probably like modeled behavior different because, I think those impressionable moments when you're growing up where you like learn the way to be. I didn't get a lot of shaping from media stuff, and I do feel like I often have a backward experience because everyone is like, when boys try to have sex with you, here's what to do, and I'm like, no, but I'm trying to have the sex and getting rejected. How do I do that? I thought boys were always supposed to want it, so it's like
Yeah.
we get confusing messages every which way.
I'm so glad you brought all that up because when I
That's a huge sexy tangent.
it's no, no, it's so that's the thing is when I decided that I wanted to do the subject of consent, like I say, I started out with the idea of talking to Betty about because I feel that women's so-called sexual dysfunction, which is a kind of pathologizing of people,
Yeah.
and most of the time it's just not being able to relax, not being able to overcome the whether it's the conservative upbringing or past bad experiences or whatever it is, but not being able to just be in their body and appreciate the arousal. The beautiful thing about Betty was like when she realized that, or when her world opened, and it was after she'd been married for many years and stuff, and she started to get into these sort of cool groups of a bunch of women, and they'd all be talking about this stuff and experimenting with touching each other and stuff. It's like sounded like an awesome experience, but
Mm.
is just realizing that her eroticism was hers,
Mhm.
and just having that notion just drop in and sit in it for a moment, like this experience I'm having, like really really feeling the experience. I can't imagine not feel. I can kind of remember what it was like when I was young and I didn't feel overly aroused when I was experimenting with sex, but the thought of sexual context was sometimes arousing to me independently of being with people. Like I had an imagination that was still giving me experiences of arousal, even though I didn't know what to
Yeah.
do with it at all when I was younger. But basically, once the connection to that core erotic feeling in your body, there's like there's arousal, but then there's that that deep core feeling inside you that is, it might be 1 minute away from orgasm, or it might be half an hour away from orgasm, but it's on the road to orgasm. It's that
Mm.
deep erotic feeling that is connected to a experience that is physical, that is taking over your body, that you know that you're on your way. You can feel that your vagina is becoming engorged. You can feel your breasts swell. You can feel your body transforming in a erotic, engaged, aroused way when you're with someone else, and it might be a whisper in someone's ear or a touch to the elbow or whatever it is. Everything takes on new meaning. Everything takes on a sense of portentousness in regards to your own erotic experience, and you're not really thinking, how do I look, how is he feeling, whatever. It's a real shared, connected, primal core feeling of you're on a surfboard, the swell's coming, and all you got to do is just wait for the right moment to stand up on the board. But the ocean
Okay, I
the
actually
ocean
don't
is
know.
coming. The ocean is
No, I
coming.
don't have that experience at all, and I'm
Mm.
so jealous of it. I don't have that awareness. I don't um my body is really strange when it comes to sensations.
It's different, not strange. Go on.
Well, I say strange,
Mm,
and I use that word specifically because I am constantly to this day still confused by the inconsistencies, not inconsistencies, but yes, inconsistencies, the differences that are day to day and in my own physical body's
response.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't actually have a deep trust of like, oh, I have this deep feeling of desire and arousal in my core. I may have that, and it may have nothing to do with an orgasm. And for me, there is a certain mixture of, I think I require this is all just like fresh noodlings, just like
Yeah.
wonderings coming out of my brain, but I think that I do require a certain level of like connection with a person to like reach a certain point of relaxation and turn on an erotic exchange.
Mm,
And I've just been wondering lately because it is really intense energy. And the last time that I was with my master, I reached this new like emotional peak that kind of freaked me out. It was like so big and so vulnerable and such a strong connection, but like overpowering emotionally in a way that like even saying these words out loud, I'm like, "But what do you mean?" And, like, my brain was like, "What does this mean?" And so I'm still, like, in the midst of having these new experiences and noticing them because I really have only been in my body for a couple years.
mm,
I'm learning myself all over again every time, and I've got a clitoris that's very finicky,
mm.
so it's great because I have a partner that's amazingly creative and pays close attention to
The clitoris is a complex, vastly intricate, incredibly potent instrument, and I'm definitely going to get around to talking about it. But for the time being, where we're going, we don't need roads. And by roads, I mean clitori. I'm definitely going to talk about it and all the other spots as well, but first, I want to play with your perceptions. Because we're always talking about the clitoris these days and not talking enough about the human being attached to it. That's why I haven't mentioned anatomy yet. And if you've seen a vulva or two in your life, that's another reason. They are as diverse as every face on the planet, and you got to do the math. Because if making women more orgasmic was purely and utterly and solely about her clitoris, then more women even, would be coming all the time. Why aren't we? Well, I am, but why isn't everyone else? My next guess is most people haven't really bothered to think much about what an orgasm actually is and why a woman's mood matters as much as it does. Let's face it, female orgasms can be elusive or profuse from woman to woman or within one woman's lifetime, depending on her personal journey, her inhibitions or lack thereof, her sexual assertiveness, her time of the month, the time of her life, her willingness to experiment, her using her imagination, her exercising her pelvic floor, whether or not she masturbates a lot, her mental health, her moral attitude, her body image, and whether or not she's ever been pregnant. or experienced vaginal childbirth, which, believe it or not, can affect orgasmic potential quite positively. And that's just a few variations to ponder. You might notice I don't place too much emphasis on one's sex partners involvement, in this fiasco. It helps to have a knowledgeable and patient lover, but there can be no party if the guest of honour is not willingly present. And likewise, even the most inept clown can accidentally nudge a highly libidinous woman to multiple screaming orgasms if all she really needed was a warm body and a witness.